gentlemen, I am now proud to introduce to you the one, the only.
Good evening and welcome to Goddesses and Devils with your host Katie Kamara and Amanda Mcmanus. So before we get started, here is a quick disclaimer. Goddesses and Devils has a zero tolerance for any forms of harassment, bullying, or disrespect. So please, if you feel that your comments are going to be hurtful in any form or any manner to anybody out there, please keep them to yourself. We are a non judgmental and non biased show, and we are very open to communicating through means of positive commentation. Well, not commentation, communication. I don't know where I got commentation from. As you guys know, as we go along, I will make up my own words, and I just did it now. So, yeah, fun fact. But so tonight is actually a very, very important night because we actually have a guest who is very well known, and his experience has been well documented. And when I say well documented, it has been proven that in this particular situation, I'm sorry, I was going to say party, everybody involved was actually telling the truth, and it was done by the means of lie detector and whatever else you could think of, psychological reviews, etc. So tonight's guest is going to be sharing his experience with us. And like I said, this is a well known scenario. You guys may have heard of the movie Fire in the Sky, and it takes place in a very little small community where everybody knows everybody. And it happened in the 70s. So this has been, like I said, a long going phenomenon throughout the 70s, all the way to 2020, where we see that people are reporting that they have had either situations where they've seen UFOs or they have been abducted by UFOs. And tonight, our guest has actually seen a UFO and was involved in the famous Fire in the Sky incident that affected Travis Walton. So here is our guest. Please give him a warm welcome. His name is Mike Rogers. Katie, I'm not sure how to pronounce the second part of his name, so can you do that for me? I'm sorry, I just don't want to say the name wrong and incorrectly. I find that to be rude. So can you
Mike
say that for me?
Mike
Yes.
Heston Rogers.
Mike
There you
Heston
go.
Hi.
Rogers. Hello, Mike. How are you?
Can you hear us, Mike?
Yes.
Okay. You're on. You're on now. You're live.
Okay.
Can
Ah,
you hear
hello.
Can you hear Amanda?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did
So,
you say, can I hear Amanda?
Yes.
No. I can
Okay.
just hear you.
Okie dokie.
sorry, can you hear me now?
All right. There, can you hear us?
I
Talk,
can hear
Amanda.
somebody.
Testing.
Christopher, can you hear
Which
me?
one am I hearing?
Yeah, I hear everyone loud and clear.
Okay, so I'm Amanda.
Now I can't hear
And
anything.
Okay, so I got to figure out something. So just talk for a second, Amanda, and we'll try and figure this out.
sure. So, like I was explaining a few minutes ago, Mike was involved in the famous fire in the sky incident. And this took place in a very small rural, I'm not sure how to say rural, right? Because my R's
Rural.
never, thank you, Christopher. My R's never roll off my tongue, right? And he actually, at the time of the incident, was working to clear a forest. And he'll go ahead and explain his job and what he was doing there in a moment. But they were actually doing a clearing. And on this particular evening, this is when this incident had taken place because they had just finished up their job and they were on their way out through this small little dirt path. And this is where the incident took place. And once we get our sound and everything in order, we're going to go ahead and start interviewing with Mike. And we're going to be asking really basic questions about what happened and how did he feel about it, etc. And if you guys feel that you want to ask him something, please call in. We are taking call-ins. And also, if you guys can please put it in the comments, I will do my best to get to it as well. So yeah, we're just clearing up some technical difficulties. As you know, Zoom and other technology sites are sometimes a little difficult to work with. So as soon as we clear that up, we're going to hear from Mike.
Are you there, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay. So for some reason that Skype and Zoom are not connecting for some reason. So I've just given you a link in the chat there. So are you familiar with Zoom?
No, I've never. Yeah. That's why I asked you to connect with me.
Okay. So that's fine. If you can just click the link that I've just given you, it'll open up a browser, and you just click connect via Chrome or whatever you're using by browser.
Okay. Well, I don't see anything there.
It's in your chat. I just sent it to you. There it is.
Oh, it's in my chat. Okay. I turned that off. Hang on.
It'll open up your
Okay.
browser. Just connect by browser. You don't have to download anything.
Just click the link, it says.
Yeah, just click the link.
Do I click on the link or that little blue thing up there above?
Just click on the link where it says join our cloud.
Oh, there.
It'll open up a browser. Connect to browser.
Okay. Now I got another screen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I say a download should start automatically in a few seconds. Zoom.
You should be able to open it through the browser.
We should have done this ahead of time.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
It was working before.
Are
so I'm
you
not
on
sure.
on the air live though?
Yes, that's fine. Keep going.
Okay.
We're used to this.
Well,
We're fine.
yeah, over at KGRA, they're a little more technical than this.
This is what we call live radio, ladies and gentlemen. So just bear with us while we try and get this sorted for a second.
Yeah. Okay.
Here's part of the magic of live TV or live radio.
Oh, exactly. I mean, this is live radio. I've been doing this for years now, and there's not a day that will ever go by where we have a technical difficulty of some sort.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I wish I still had Bill back. I mean, that guy was a genius. He wanted everything cut and dried. He wanted it done ahead of time, whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean, I have produced so far, I don't know, somewhere between 25 and 30 shows in my entire 3.5, almost 4-year radio career. So, it's been fun. It really has, and I've done some real doozies. I've done double live shows all at once.
Well, you've done that yourself that way, but I've been on the radio for almost my entire life in one way or another. We're on the air right now? What I'm saying is coming across.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well,
So
while we're trying to get that set up, while that's trying to connect, I got a little story to tell you about my first experience with radio.
sure,
If you
go
want,
ahead.
you want? Okay. Well, when I was 9 years old, I lived in Winslow, Arizona, and my dad, he was a radioman in the service, in the South Pacific, and he was a genius with electronics and radio,
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of stuff. Anyway, he taught me radio. He taught me all kinds of stuff, almost everything electrical. I mean, we spent a whole lot of time together. He was a TV repairman and a radio man. I mean, everything. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And my uncle Clyde Rogers, who is dead now, but he was a he was such a computer genius. He's the one who set up all the computer systems in both the Hoover and the Glen Canyon Dam and one in Arizona, uh, the one at Page.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the, you know, huge computer systems, and he knew everything there was to know about computers. So between those two guys, okay, and they both of them taught me this stuff right at the time. They were both totally into it. So when I was 9 years old, I took everything I'd learned from them and I built my own radio station. Okay. My dad was a ham radio guy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He had a big high antenna by our house there in Winslow. And it was at the time, it was a very nice neighborhood. I mean, we had a really, really nice house. I grew up that way, but anyway, there and in Snowflake. But uh, when I was 9, I thought I knew enough. I really wanted to get into radio, so I did. I built my own transmitter.
Yep.
Okay. At first, it was like a battery operated transmitter. And but even then, I could broadcast all over Winslow. Okay. I wasn't legal. I didn't even know about FCC. Anyway, nobody said anything about that for, gosh, I don't know how long, like 2 months, okay? But then one day I decided, this isn't good enough. Broadcasting over Winslow is not good enough. Uh, I gotta do something more. So I figured it out based on what my uncle and my dad had taught me, and I boosted the power on that transmitter up so high I could be heard all over northern Arizona, which is a pretty big place. Northern Arizona is about the size of Great Britain, and anyway, that lasted for about 3 weeks. Okay, man, I was being a DJ and playing music and talking to people. I was interviewing my little brothers and sisters,
Mm-hmm.
and this too funny. Everything's funny. Anyway, one day there was a knock at the door. My dad and my mom were both gone, fortunately. It was the FCC. Okay, it was a man and a woman, and they first they were looking for my dad or my mom, and I said, well, they're not here. Well, we need to talk to him.
Oh dear.
We know they've been transmitting, illegally. And I said, oh, well, you don't need to talk to them. They don't know anything about it. It's me. And
And how
I've
old
always
were
been
you at the
honest,
time?
of course. And so they didn't believe it, So I went and showed them my transmitter. I showed them everything what I do. I like right now. I had a studio, and we're transmitting out of my house, but I had a studio, and anyway, I proceeded to show them, and they couldn't believe it. Man, it took them like an hour to fully understand what the heck I was talking about. So then I had to demonstrate it to them. Well, to make a long story short, the end product of that is that they said, okay, you can't do this anymore. I was 9 years old. They couldn't arrest me, In fact, for a while, they thought it was pretty funny, clever of me. But they said, "Man, you can't do that here. You just can't do it. It's against the law." And I said, "Okay." Well, I took that pretty seriously. I shut the thing down. I shut it all. In fact, they
Wow.
told me that I could have the low-powered version, that transmitted over Winslow because that was legal, I think.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what they said at the time, I guess it was. Maybe it still is. I don't know. Anyway, I quit transmitting altogether as a result of that. And I didn't pick it up again until, let's see, well, in 1975, right after Travis Walton was abducted.
And how are you doing connecting with Zoom over here?
Well, it's changed a little. The Zoom is now great big on the screen.
Okay.
Uh,
I need you to connect into the call.
into the what?
Into our call.
Okay, how do I do that?
You need to click the link that I just sent you again. So have you downloaded it?
Link.
The link in the chat that I sent you.
Well, then I need to pump chat back up again.
Okay, put the chat back up. Click the link and see what happens.
So for everybody who's joining us, I see that we have some people coming in
Zoom.
and out.
Okay.
We are experiencing a little bit of technical difficulty.
Enter your
so
name.
We're trying to get Mike
Whose
on board
name?
here with
My
Zoom.
name?
Yes, your name.
Right now,
real
he can hear
name,
Katie,
my
but
fake
he can't hear
name.
It doesn't
What kind of
matter.
name?
It doesn't matter. Just put in a name. ABC. Doesn't matter.
Well, it's got a number there. It says 19282.
Okay, that's fine. Just click the link and press connect.
Press the link.
It's gonna ask
press
you.
the
You need to
19282.
No, it's gonna ask you to put your name in and connect. Call into us.
Well, it's got that 19282 there as my name.
That's fine. Just you can enter in any name you want. You just have to press the connect button.
The connect button. Well, it says join meeting. Is that what you mean?
That's
Yep,
the one.
join the meeting.
Okay.
That's the one.
Join me.
There it is.
There you go. Now
Can you
you're
hear
in.
us now?
Hang on.
I see you.
Join
You're
with
about to come in. Join
computer
in.
audio.
That's it.
Okay.
You should be able to hear me in that, and then we can disconnect from Skype, and you should be able to hear me on Zoom.
Okay. Well, it's still got that thing on the screen. Her face is behind this, thing here that says join with
Or connecting
computer
to
audio. It's already done connecting, but the damn thing is still on the screen, though.
It might take a little bit for it to come in. That's fine.
Well, I can see her. I can see her in the little picture. Yeah, she's waving at me. And I can also see Christopher over there to the right. He's leaning back, chewing gum or something.
Okay, so
and I can see you. Okay,
Yes,
all
you
three of
We're
you are
all
at the
here.
top of the screen.
we're all here.
Okay, now I can see Christopher. He's behind there. Now I can see Amanda. But that thing is still over the face
It may be-
on the,
it
on the
may
big
be-
screen.
It may be because we're on Skype.
Oh, okay.
So if we disconnect from Skype, and if you go out of the meeting, so leave meeting and then click the link to come back into the meeting, doesn't matter what your name is, just join the meeting and then come back in. It should be able to connect to your audio.
Okay.
Okay? So I'll
All
hang
right.
up from Skype, and so you can connect in to Zoom. All right?
Okay.
All
I
right.
just disconnected from Skype.
Yes. All right.
Well, the thing is still over the big screen.
Yes. So exit out of your meeting and then come back into Zoom. It should work.
Okay.
If you have any trouble, just message me on Skype and I'll get it.
Well, it's still got that up over the screen.
Yes, because you've got a double audio. You're using two different methods of call video chat.
Well, now when you say X out, now you mean totally X out of all this? The X
No, you have to exit out of the meeting. I need to disconnect you from Skype so that your audio will come through to Zoom. Okay. I think that worked.
Sorry about that, guys. Like we were saying, it happens where we have interconnections that are just crossing and things like that. And that's kind of what's going on right now, Mike. But it's okay. It happens.
I watched a news program on MSNBC.
There we go.
Somebody's Zoom ran out.
Hi, Mike.
Live radio.
There, I can see everybody.
You're absolutely right, Christopher. Yeah. Okay, so let's get started. Like I said, guys, sorry about that. We were just experiencing.
Yeah, you're a half hour into the show. It's about time.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. It happens. You know what? We're just happy that you made it and you're here with us and you're able to connect with all of us now, so we can get started. So earlier in the show, I wasn't sure if you were able to hear. I did introduce you and I did explain a little bit about you in the sense of the fire in the sky incident. And a lot of people understand what happened in that particular situation based on the movie. But I kind of feel like the movie is probably a little bit more played up to the incident than what had really occurred.
It's actually played down.
Played down. Perfect. Yeah. So that's exactly what we want to talk about. How so let's get started with and I'm just going to ask you some questions. So where did this take place exactly?
It happened in northern Arizona and on the Mogollon Rim. Actually, that's the Mogollon Rim is a part of the Coconino Plateau. But we lived in Snowflake at the time. And so this was up on the mountain, up on the Coconino Plateau, the Mogollon Plateau, which was, I don't know, about 50 miles south west of Snowflake. And we traveled that in my truck every day. How much more of an answer do you want?
So you were actually, why were you guys traveling out there? You guys were working with timber at the time, correct? You guys were cutting the trees?
Yeah, we went to work every day, yeah.
Okay, so you guys were doing that, and now how long were you on that site before this incident took place? Were you there for like a couple of weeks or a few days?
Depends on what you mean. On the contract, we've been there for like a year and a half, but at the actual site, we weren't even at the site until we drove there, after work.
Right, because this incident took place off your site, and you had to go through this little dirt road to get to your particular site that you were working on.
Yeah, matter of fact.
So you guys,
we were still on the contract, okay, but we were like about 100 yards from getting off of it, up on what they call the rim road. So it's all complicated when you ask it that way. And you're the first one to ever put it that way. I've been bored with this until now. You're asking questions I've never even thought about before. I've asked.
Well, because I'm a.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm actually. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. I have an extensive background in psychology, and I also am a very critical thinker. So when I think about incidences, I don't discredit the individual of having the incident. I don't discredit the events. I don't do any of that. What I do is I would like to know questions that people don't ask. So what was going on? How was your typical day? You were doing timber removal and and then you have this specific way of traveling in and out, and there's only one way to travel in and out. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep. There was only one road in.
Right. So, and you guys were there, every day, we'll say. And so you guys would have noticed if somebody else was in the area. So it was clearly a very remote site.
There were actually hunters in the area. It was hunting season at the time.
Oh, see?
You're asking complicated questions here. I've never been asked before. So you're making this interesting, again. I was getting pretty bored with this story.
Well, the thing is that there was no other logging companies there besides your company, and then you would have your residents that would go hunting on the ground. So you guys were familiar with this. So when this event happened, it was very unexpected to you guys because, I mean, I
Yes.
know in Arizona, they are very prone to wildfires, and this is not uncommon. And a lot of it comes from individuals who are camping in the area or who are, hunting or doing things. They draw fire for the evening. But this area, from what I was understanding, was very dense, and that's why you guys
Yeah,
were
at the
clearing this
time it
pathway.
was. Yes, that's right. It was
Right.
dense
So
in
you,
two ways. The big trees were dense, and then in Arizona, we have these because of previous logging. Uh, Ponderosa pine grows from seedlings, and so they go in there and log, but they wouldn't log all the trees, just some of them. But they would chew up the ground with cats and stuff like that, bring the timber out. And in doing that, what happened was that the big trees that they left would reseed the area, and so since there was plenty of space and this ground was torn up with the cats and stuff, those seedlings all grew, and they grew into huge thickets. Okay, huge ponderosa thickets. And so there was two types of cutting. Okay, actually three. I had three contracts at the same time. You talk about complicated. They were getting into it. Three contracts. One was, and it was all on the same ground. So, oh gosh. Anyway, one of those was for something people haven't heard about before, and that was lopping, because we were also supposed to go in there and lop down the tops that came from the timber operation. Okay, and so I had these three contracts altogether. I don't need to go through them and tell you what those are. I already said it. But anyway, that's what we were doing. And on that particular day, we had quit work, and we were coming out of there. And we'd work till dark because that contract was getting behind. I'd kind of like taken on too much. One of the contracts was from the Forest Service, and the other two was from a timber company called Western Pine, but they were all in the same area. Anyway, I'd taken on too much, and so we were behind. I mean, we weren't behind on the Western Pine stuff. That was fine, but we were behind on the Forest Service work, and so we worked till dark. We've been doing that like every day for quite a while there, because we were getting behind.
right.
And so that's why we didn't come out of there until dark. Okay, I mean, it wasn't totally 100% dark, but it was pretty close to dark. So
Right. And now you were in a small group, so there wasn't like 150 men. It was just a very small group of you that were contracted.
Yeah, seven altogether. I had 6 employees. I was a crew boss. Actually, that was broke up in 2 pieces too. As a crew boss of the Western Pine stuff, right? Of the Forest Service contract, I was the boss. Okay, you're getting complicated here. I haven't ever answered this stuff before.
Well, like I said, I am I'm very into critical thinking, and it's really important because sometimes we forget all the fine details, and a lot of the times when we forget the fine details, people assume things, and that's not okay. If we don't want to assume to know everything, so that's why it's important to know some of these fine details. Because they would say, well, how come you guys left there late at night? Well, because we had to finish our job. But they didn't understand that there was so much going on that site, and that you guys were contracted out to 3 separate entities, and that's why you had so much work to do. Right. So you had a crew of 7 of you guys, and now you guys would all leave in your one pickup truck, right?
Right. Yeah, one crew cab truck.
Okay. And so now, after you guys had finished that evening and you guys were leaving, you all got into the cruise truck and you guys were leaving out. And who noticed, what first?
Well, a guy who is no longer with us. He was in the back.
I'm sorry
seat.
to hear that.
Okay, yeah. Because there were 7 of us, I was driving my crew. Either way. Anyway, Alvin Dallas was his name. He died like 7 years ago. Anyway, and by a drug overdose, I hear. I wasn't there.
I'm sorry.
He died at a stoplight late at night. I think he was. I didn't even know what drug he was doing, but he died of an overdose. That's what I heard. Anyway, he was in the back seat. There was four guys back there, so he was kind of shoved up against the window on the side where this thing first came visible, and the truck would move around. You rambling down a road in the woods, the truck goes this way and that way and all kinds of stuff. He was the first one to notice it. He was paying attention. Everybody else was talking and stuff like that. Travis was talking to me. He wasn't looking at it, and so he saw a light, that looked rather strange, and as he mentioned it, well, nobody paid attention to that for I don't know a minute or so, and then he got a little more loud about it. Look at this, guys, and so. And then everybody looked, then I could see it, but you could kind of turn the truck then kind of turn more towards the light, okay? Not exactly, but anyway, we kept going very slowly, of course, because this was a logging road. Really wasn't a road, it was a logging trail that, it was a road when the logging was done, but it had recently been closed. By that I mean, they would go in after they'd do it and they would hump these big piles of dirt up to where normal traffic couldn't get through. In fact, I couldn't even get my truck over it, even though it was built for that kind of thing, because the humps were too big and it was a long wheelbase truck, if I tried. So we actually had to dig our way into there. We had to at least we'd go to one side of these humps and clear out a space, like 10 feet wide, just wide enough for and not all the way down, there'd still be a hump there, but we could at least get over it with my crew cab. And we had to do that several times, getting back into there. Not on that day, but in the weeks and months before that. I can't remember exactly when we got into that area. I think it was like 2 months prior to that. And so when we were coming up the road, seeing that, I had to go over these places where we had fixed the roads so we could get out. Anyway, again, complications.
So there was not much. It was not much leeway for you guys to go too far, because I know based on the area when I was and I've done a lot of research into this way before, which I'm really really excited that you're on the show, and thank you for taking the time to come on our show. I saw the road was really narrow. It was really not one that you would want to take fast. We really needed to be cautious on this particular road. So I could. So as you guys are chugging along slowly and you're trying to keep the truck in order, I mean, it makes sense to why you wouldn't have seen it first, because you're too worried about getting all the passengers safely out of that area. So now, when you noticed it, what did it look like? Like, did it look like was it like a blinking, or was it like a steady? Was it a flashing? How did the light differ from something that you normally?
What I noticed was the light was strange, and by that time, some of the guys were saying, I think Kenny Peterson, who's also no longer with us now for all intent and purpose, because nobody's found him for 4 years. I think he wandered off in the desert or something down in Tucson. I don't know what happened. His family doesn't know where he is, nobody does. I don't know.
Sorry.
Maybe he was abducted.
There are incidences supposedly in a lot of documented incidents that they will return to abductees and then reabduct them again. So I mean, anything is possible. Anything is really, in this day, anything's possible. And and I'm sorry that those unfortunate things happened, and I hope he's found safe. But I mean,
well, all I know is he's gone. Okay, but
I'm sorry.
At the time, he was saying that's got to be a crashed airplane, And John Gillette, who's still alive, he's sitting in the back seat there, and he says, "No, man." He says, "I just got out of the Air Force. I mean, the Army. I mean, the Navy. Excuse me." I just got out of the Navy, and so I'm familiar with things like that. He says, "No, that's not a crashed airplane." I don't know why. Oh, because it was an aircraft. He was on an aircraft carrier. Okay. Anyway, he said that no, that's not. So we talked like that, and Travis you didn't say anything. You just looked at it, you know. I'd look over at him, and he's kind of like, he'd look at me, and it was kind of like, that's weird.
Right. He's like, "Are you seeing this? Like, seriously, I'm seeing it. Are you
Yeah,
seeing it? Because I don't believe this fool in the back seat." You know?
exactly. And everybody was guessing at what it was because it was very strange. Anyway, we kind of come around a corner there, and we broke into an opening in both the big timber and the little thickets, okay, clearing there, and this thing was sitting there above. Uh, it was actually like up on a ridge, not quite up on the ridge, but it was an incline, a gentle incline that went up to a ridge. If you've ever seen the area or pictures of it, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I have.
Yes, and so when we come around that corner, there it was. I couldn't see it, okay, because it was to the right of the truck by this time, and it was above the cab of the truck. I couldn't see it. Travis, without saying anything, he jumped out of the truck and he took off walking really fast. He got a little slower as he went, but you know, I thought, what in the heck are these guys looking at? What's going on? And the guys in the back seat, they're like not saying anything. Everybody's quiet at this point. And I thought, geez, you know. So I turned the truck off, you know, set the emergency brake.
Right.
And then I leaned over, kind of had to push Ken to the side so I could do that. And there it was, you know. All I had to do was, you know, put my head down where I could see up, you know, where I normally couldn't see. I wasn't being able to see. And I thought, my God.
What did it look like? Did it look like pretty much what people typically explain, like a round saucer shape, or did it have like any type of
I've drawn
etchings on it, or
Are you familiar with Travis's book? I mean, you have that, or
I've skimmed through some of it, but I actually haven't really fully researched his book.
well,
But
I'm just talking about the pictures. Okay.
yeah, I didn't actually. I saw the pictures of the woodland area and the incline, as well as where it was first seen, in a sense, in that area, and that some said that there was some sort of residue left by, almost like
Now,
an area.
what book are you talking about?
These are just basic books. It wasn't written by Travis himself. These are basic
Okay.
books.
All
You know,
right.
like how they
Yeah,
have books
he was
into it.
here just a few days ago, like four nights ago, and he was saying, you know, I signed some books the other day. I didn't write them, but they're all about it, you know.
Right.
And he says they didn't include your illustrations exactly.
Right,
So,
and that's why it's important for us to get that information from you so we know where to look for, because a lot of times people, like I was saying, authors will research an incident, and then they'll research it to the point where they feel that they know enough information, and then they'll go ahead and distribute or make a book, and a lot of times they leave out a lot of this stuff. So that's why it's really important for us
oh
to have
yeah.
you here.
Well,
You know, and
apparently they left out all my illustrations that are in Travis's book. He did two. The first one was called the Walton Experience, and then when the movie came out, he decided to update it and add more to it and everything else, and I illustrated both of those. Okay,
right.
but you have to have one or the other to see what I've illustrated, and those illustrations serve a very good purpose because they're a pictorial view. Okay. Because
Right.
they are realistic, they're photorealistic paintings, and so I was hoping you had one. So we, you know, other people listening to this, I'm sure they have his original book. Anyway, what you have to do is you go to the illustrations in the book, and if we're talking about Fire in the Sky here, and in there there's a picture of the UFO, and it looks almost exactly like a photo, you know, of the object. It's not perfect because the object was far too fantastic, you know, and of course a picture doesn't move, and this thing moved. Is in fact the picture that's there in either one, well, in Travis' latest book, Fire in the Sky, the Walton Experience.
Are you able to see my screen, Mike?
Yes.
Okay, so this is one of the. Sorry, let me undo this.
Okay, well that picture is from my first book.
Okay,
That
so it.
that is when I did that. It's not really photorealistic, but
Right.
that's just a basic, way it looked. Yeah. In
Okay.
the Walton experience, I did completely redid that picture to an absolutely photorealistic looking thing. Now I sent Katie some pictures, for illusions that I've done,
They're
and
actually
one
up
of
on the
those,
screen
which
right
is
now.
pain, yeah, is has that illustration, the new illustration, on the top of that featured illusion.
Okay. And so so to just describe a little bit for our viewers who can't
Yeah,
see
okay.
it. Now this object that you saw, was it circular? Was it square? Was it a triangle? How did uh this this craft look when you first look at it?
Well, it looked like that picture you have there, two pie pans put lip to lip.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, that's just the basic shape. Uh, uh, like that picture you have, it had lighted panels, okay? Uh, and not seen in that picture, but seen in the other one, except that even the one that Katie has there is not of the object. It's just Travis being struck by the object. But that book, his book, has an actual photo of it. And I have that photo, of course, but I didn't send it to Katie. I was just sending her these natural illusions, these featured illusions that I have done, that I'm into, and those illusions are a result of my study that began the very next year, right after that incident. All ties together, because the skeptics came down on us hard. They didn't come
Right.
down hard on Travis. I was the boss of the crew, and people thought I was smarter or something. Actually, he's pretty. I think I'm smarter, but he's pretty damn smart, and that's the way we've been all our lives. But anyway, the skeptics thought that I was the ringleader, the
Right, of this
boss
incident.
of a hoax, right?
Right. Well,
And
that's what,
yeah.
sorry, that's what I was gonna ask you next because you know, this so when Travis walked over to this object, he got pretty much right under it. Is that correct?
As close as he could get. Yeah, there was some slash on a logging slash pile that had been placed there by the dozers who closed these roads, and also piled up logging debris in these openings. He couldn't. I mean, it would have been impossible really for him to climb over that. But this thing was like in the middle of the clearing, and this slash pile was in the middle of the clearing, you know. And
Right.
so
So he
it
got
was,
as close as he
yeah.
could.
So he got as close as he could. He got right up to the edge of that slash pile. Yeah.
And now, how long would you say he was standing there for?
Oh, I don't know, 20, 30 seconds.
Oh, so it was like really quick. Like once he got up to that,
Well, yeah, the truth is, and we analyzing this since then, Travis and I both believe we surprised him. And see that he ran up there because he was just inquisitive. He had seen UFOs at a distance before. In fact, him and I, another group of people, coincidentally, he was sitting in the same position, but we were in a Dodge Charger. And 5 years prior to that incident, we had a very close experience, not as close as that one that night, but we coming out of Snowflake, and we're heading down to Phoenix to go to the last day of Big Surf, a place you could actually surf in Phoenix, and that's where we're headed. Anyway, it was dark, and as we were leaving Snowflake, saw this light. I thought it was a street light. I'm just trying to make a long story short here because this story was really long if I told it, in detail. But anyway, we proceeded for about another 8 miles, watching this thing and just getting closer and closer. I could see from back there, it was a sphere. I mean, from back in Snowflake. And it was almost to the west. So this road which we were on was going almost west. It's sort of like these things are pre-planned. And that's part of the reason why, that goes along with the feeling that they're extraterrestrial, because there's just too much coincidence involved otherwise.
Right.
I mean, a massive coincidence. Amazing.
Right.
Anyway,
right, and that's why
the road went right straight to it.
Right, exactly.
And the road meanders a little, but it went straight to it. So we topped up over a ridge there, and there was a bus of guys there on the right side of the road, right at the top of that ridge we topped over. And when we did that, there it was, and it was a giant sphere. It was like 60 feet in diameter, and it was brightly colored. You could see features and all that stuff. But to make a long story short again, we couldn't sit there. I mean, we kept driving because we were in a hurry to get to Phoenix, because it was already dark, blah, 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 blah. We stopped at one point, okay, where this thing was like to our right, our right again, but nobody got out. Nobody got out. Coincidence, man, coincidence. And I'm on the same side of the truck, and I can hardly see it, so I have to stop the car and lean over again so I can see it. But this time we can't see anything. But clouds, very low clouds, are just lighted up like brighter, almost as bright as daylight. Okay. And later on, when we went to, after our incident, and we went to Tonopah, Arizona, to a convention down there, the first convention we'd ever gone to, the guy that was driving that bus, and it turned out to be had eight football players in it from Snowflake, who all were going. In fact, the whole area up there was going to school in Snowflake High School, and they were headed back to Heber. Okay, again Heber. Yeah. Oh man. Anyway, this guy was talking at Tonopah. He was one of the first speakers, and my jaw dropped because he was talking about that incident, and he was the bus driver, right?
Yeah, and you were like, well, wait a minute, I saw that incident too, and it's like, yeah, it's very coincidental, and so it's like, man, you just saw one not too long ago, and then this happens. Did it dawn on you at that moment, or you were just like completely blank minded and you were just like, what the hell is this thing? Because I know you were really concerned about Travis, because Travis and you had different relations that others in that truck didn't, right? You were actually seeing Travis's sister at the time, right?
Well, sort of. Actually, well, I get in too many tangents here, so let's get past that.
I am wondering, since you've had all these encounters, have you been abducted?
Yes, that's Christopher.
Yeah, I recognize the voice. Anyway, what were you saying, Christopher?
As you had all these encounters, have you personally witnessed being around the aliens themselves or being abducted?
I can't quite understand the question. What is it again?
So Christopher wants to know, have you ever had any other contact with the extraterrestrials? Like, did you actually physically be with them and see them, how they physically abducted you as
Personally, no. I've had three main experiences. All of them were close encounters, but not like hands-on. I wasn't abducted.
Oh, you're not of the fourth kind then, right?
Right, because there's a different level.
No, I never saw aliens. Never touched the objects, wasn't abducted, but they were close encounters, all three.
Right, because you were able to be like right on top of them. And now with this particular incident, now Travis is standing, we would say, kind of directly under it, or a little bit off to being under it, and now
he was looking up at like a 45-degree angle at it, which gave us the ability to see how high it was, because of the angle, the direction he was looking, the angle he was looking. You can tell those things because we were that close to him. I mean, he was less than 90 feet away, like maybe 80 feet.
And so it does make sense of what you said, is how you guys came upon them and kind of startled them, because I'm sure they're being very observant to the area as they're doing whatever they're doing there, or why they were there, nobody knows. But what, I do think that, yeah, there could be a big possibility that you guys did startle them, because at one point there was this beam of light that hit Travis. Now,
Yeah,
I
not
was
like in the movie. Not like in the movie. And that's why I
right.
was saying earlier that they downplayed it. Because in the movie, they have the light picking him up. The light is not intense. It's not bang like it actually was. In
Right.
real life, it was absolutely startling. So much so, it scared all of us almost to death. I mean, literally, it just, we're talking white knuckle scared here.
Right. Well, I mean, honestly, I think I would be the same if I see this and then all of a sudden it just emits this beam of light. Now, when it did this, did you feel like a vibration to it? Like, did it feel like, how you have like M80?
Yeah, that's right.
The fireworks that send that
yes.
they're called
Sights,
EMP.
sounds, even taste.
Yeah. Yeah, because they send that EMP where it's not really it's a discharge of energy is what it really is.
Well,
and
now let me explain this like each piece, because you're getting technical here again. Very interesting. When he's up there, and like I say, it was only like 20 seconds or something before he was hit anyway. The volume on this thing suddenly just gets louder and louder, and the thing starts rotating. And the volume of the sound got loud, and it was rumbling. I mean, it was rumbling bad. I mean, my hands were on the steering wheel at the time. I could feel through my white knuckles. It didn't happen right at the moment, but I could feel the vibration through my hands. Even leaning over, I could feel I mean, you could feel it through the seat of your pants. I could feel it on the wheel. Yeah, it was very kind of startling, I've never felt, I mean, sitting there to come upon a train, like happens down here in Hobart. You come upon a train that's rumbling through like 90 miles an hour. I mean, they move that fast, those freight trains, especially the passenger trains. And they make a rumble like that. If you get right up there at the crossbars before, the crossbars come down rather quickly, and then the train goes, And,
right. Yeah.
I felt that kind of rumble before, but not that intense. Okay.
Right. So it was like it was gearing up. It was like slowly magnifying.
Now that's just that part. When the beam or the energy or whatever it was hit him, okay, there was a crack to it. I can't mimic that sound, but there was a definite pop crack kind of thing, and both of us think he was hit by lightning. Actually, we've kind of endlessly analyzing this. We both feel he was hit by static electricity, and we don't know where that came from. It came from the craft, but it also could have come from the fact that Arizona is the second highest lightning strike area in the nation, and even in dry weather, lightning will come snaking up across the sky and hit something, especially like an umbrella sticking up there, like a UFO, right? And
well, yeah, a lot of people do research
right directly into you.
Yeah, they do a lot of research with seismograph meters and things like that, because that area is just so rich in energy. But it's natural energy. It's static electricity.
There's
so
actually several types of things, but I mean several kinds of reasons for that lightning activity.
Right.
The Mogollon Rim is not only high, it's also made of iron ore. It's an umbrella up there asking for trouble all by itself.
Yeah. Exactly, because of all the minerals that you have, and ore
not just the iron, but other types of things that attract lightning.
Right. And so yeah, that would make sense, like, because the way that the movie depicts it is a beam of light, but the way you're describing it as a, like, I would think, like you said, if this craft was emitting anything, it would be something similar to what lightning would
Well,
produce,
yeah,
not versus just
static
a
electricity.
flashlight.
Yeah,
Yeah, not just a
if the
flashlight.
craft could have been doing it, that might have been it. It might have been it. In fact, maybe the craft was there because they were studying this anomaly of that exists there in that place.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot, and a lot of people will question, well, why are they here? Okay, well, there's a lot of hundred reasons, billions of reasons why they could be here, but it's the point of what do we learn from the experiences when they aren't here. And now with this particular situation, Travis got hit with this we'll call it
Whatever.
electricity. Yeah, so
Yeah.
he got hit with this electrical charge,
And
now
and that's one reason why we don't think it was generated by the craft, because first of all, nobody's ever talked about that before. And Arizona is, and the Rim country is that kind of thing. And so they would have known if their propulsion system would discharge electricity like that, static electricity. It
right.
probably was coming from natural means, hitting the object, then coming through and hitting Travis. And if it was lightning, no wonder he killed him. I mean, in fact, he was lucky. Right. Okay, I've been hit by lightning, but if anybody knows anything about lightning, they know that there are these things called feeders or leaders that there'll be like as many as 20 of them, and they come up from the ground and go up to meet the lightning, and then lightning picks one of them, trying to make the shortest route to ground. Okay, and that's, I mean, all that's natural, but that's the complexity. That's the research they've done about lightning.
And that's true.
So I got hit by a feeder. I got hit by a feeder. Travis was hit by actual lightning. But it was probably diffused to some degree by the object, but it still came through and hit him. It didn't kill him. I mean, it didn't blow him apart like lightning very often does. I've seen that myself. And
well, I'm actually a retired first responder, and I've actually dealt with somebody who was hit by lightning as well, and it does come from the ground up. People think that it comes from the sky down. It does not. It's a very
the lightning itself comes from the sky down, but it has to connect with one of these feeders. But people who say they've been hit by lightning, they wouldn't even be alive if they actually got hit by the beam.
Right, exactly. And and it's because of static charges in the atmosphere and ionic charges, and plenty of it's really scientific. But we could talk all about that. But we're talking, we're going to continue with this
getting
topic
off track.
Right now.
I am so great.
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry about it. So now when he got hit with this, he was thrown some feet, correct? Like he didn't just fall to the ground and fall out. He was actually hit, and
his reaction was kind of a double thing. It was both from the blow of this thing, because lightning is a very physical blow.
Yes.
But at the same time, lightning will cause your muscles to, like, your legs and whatnot. So that's exactly what happened, because he kind of jumped, but at the same time he was blown back.
Right.
And when he hit the ground, everybody thought he was dead. And I'm pretty damn sure he was.
And that's the thing. In the movie, it shows that you guys hightailed it out of there and left Travis behind. And that was a lot of the fact that the crew was yelling at you, drive, go, he's dead, leave him. And you didn't want to leave him.
That part of the movie, the reaction of the guys is pretty close. But the movie didn't keep going with that. It didn't do it actually depicting Travis. That was downplayed terribly. And then they changed the actual story, because a quarter of a mile away, I quit being so blind, panic, scared. I realized that we'd left him there, and I stopped the truck. The guys did argue with me, but in the movie, they have me going back. And that's another downplay. There's no reason for that. I mean, there was no reason for that to be done that way.
Right, because in the movie, it says it says that you're telling them, get out. I'm going to go back for him. I'm not going to leave a man behind. That is my motto. I do not leave anybody behind. And if you don't like it, get out of the truck, and I'll come back.
And in the movie, they have everybody staying there. But in reality, the guys were already scared to death. They weren't about to go. They weren't about to. And we had help besides. When we got a quarter of a mile away, and I stopped the truck, everybody got out. Two or three of them, plus myself, our first impulse was to look back that way, okay? And we saw a light, even though we're a quarter of a mile away. It's dense timber, so all you can see is just kind of, the light is kind of visible, but not completely. And we saw the light lift up and streak away towards like the northeast. And so because of that, we had a little more bravery to us. All that goes into the fact that the guys got back into the truck and went back with me. Plus the fact that they were brave too, most of them.
Right. Yeah, they were just, in the moment. I couldn't imagine the fear that I would feel, because it's honestly, you don't know it until you feel it, and you don't know it until you experience it. So who is anybody to say whether or not your guys' actions by leaving Travis behind was, okay? Because I remember, there was an investigation, because when you guys went back, you guys didn't find Travis.
No. And I broke down, but a lot of people don't understand that. People who ask that question. In fact, I've had TV shows where they edited that part out where I explained it. In fact, every time they edited it out, they're always trying to get it shorter and shorter, just like the skeptics. The skeptics didn't care to investigate. They didn't investigate. They just wanted to make proclamations that had to be something else. It's all a hoax or ball lightning or something, But
right, exactly. They wanted to downplay it, because the problem is that people fear what they don't understand, and
that's definitely true. Yeah.
The biggest thing, and I couldn't imagine you or anybody going through that scenario, just leaving a person and just saying, what? I mean, some people might, but not everybody, especially if you're such a close knit, area where you guys are working together. You guys were very close. You spent a lot of time together. This is like your best friend. All of them are your best friends, even though they're your coworkers. You guys built a relationship, all of you, and of course it'd be traumatic and it would be upsetting, and nobody ever wants to hear, well, no, they're trying to say that, no, it was your guy's fault for not going back to check if he was in the area.
Yeah, and I've gotten an awful lot of flack over that. But I understand.
Right, but you guys did go back.
Understands
that was the point.
We did go back, and went back fairly quickly. Yeah.
But, and you guys didn't see him there.
At the most, it was 15 minutes later. At the most.
And now you guys, when you went back, you didn't find Travis, and you guys looked for him.
Right. And what I got emotional about was, I broke down because they were like tears of joy. Because we didn't find him, because I knew that we all thought he was dead, right?
Right.
Well, when we went back and he wasn't there, what I got emotional about was the fact that he wasn't there, and I knew that they must have taken him, okay? Because he's not there, and if they took him, he must be okay.
Right.
I didn't think at the time that they might have been taking him, to heal him or fix him. It took him like 5 days. He was gone for 5 days and 6 hours and some odd minutes and a few seconds.
Right. And which leads me to my next question, is that when, after the event and you guys went back into your town, and you guys reported this, correct? Like you went and said, "Hey, listen, something happened on the ridge."
Well, actually, we didn't report it in town. Well, we reported in town, but Heber, not where we live. Heber's the closest town to that place. It's about 15 miles or something like that, back down the hill. a small town, but that's we had to call as soon as we could, and I didn't call. Ken Peterson did, and he called the sheriff. Okay, well, actually, the local police first. Again, complicated. The local deputy sheriff came out and met us, but he had called the actual sheriff, who was in Holbrook, and we told this whole story to the deputy, and then we got more elaborated with our story. The actual sheriff showed up, and I was thinking to myself, why in the world would the sheriff come all the way down here at night? It turned out later that his he had seen an object. He was very skeptical about us. He thought we had murdered Travis, but what brought him out? In fact, I think the sheriff, the sheriff was always very nice to me after that. I think it was just peer pressure that he was saying, that it had to be murder. And I don't think he really believed it. I think he really believed us.
Right, and that was the thing, is that after the events, they held you guys accountable for it because there was some rift between Travis and another person in that group.
Alan Dallas.
Yeah, they had some disagreements, but he never really wanted Travis dead or anything. He just thought he was annoying.
But he did have trouble with the law prior to that, so it was kind of a two-part thing. He's the one that they had to call inconclusive because he got mad at the questioning for two reasons. Because he had been doing some illegal stuff prior to that, which I didn't know about, but also because he had this rift between him and Travis. Alan had kind of accidentally, he says it was accidental, felled a tree so close to Travis, it could have killed him.
Wow.
Right, and they did depict that part.
Travis missed dying twice that day.
Yeah, they did depict that in the movie, that before the incident that that occurred with the.
Yep, that's one part of the movie that was pretty correct. In fact, in the movie, the size of the tree was about the right size. Okay.
Yeah, because I heard it was, and I did some research, and from his accounts, it was a very large piece of timber, and if it would have hit anybody, they would have been done and squashed.
That's exactly right.
And then he even laughed it off, and it was like, "Ha, sorry," like in a sense of being like, "I'm not sorry, good for you," type of thing. But so I can understand where they believe that rift occurred and why they would assume somebody wanted to get rid of Travis. Yeah. And now you guys were under investigation for quite some time until Travis reappeared, in a sense.
Yeah. Yep.
And now, did they threaten you guys like, hey, you guys can't leave the state, can't leave the city, can't do this, can't do that? I need you to stay put.
Yep, that's right.
So you guys were like on house arrest.
When we went down to take those polygraph tests, we were basically in jail. As each person took their test, each test took like 2 hours apiece. They were very thorough. The examiner was from Phoenix, but he was he was an expert. I mean, seriously. Cy Gilson is his name. And he took Steve Pierce first because Steve was the youngest. And we had drawn straws, okay? But it didn't make any difference. The examiner decided who was going to be first, second, third, so it didn't matter. Actually, they followed the straws after the first 2 or 3. I went by the straw, okay? So the examiner was just interested in the first 1 or 2 or so. But as we were, each one of us would get done with our test, they put us out in a prison yard with high walls. You couldn't get out. And there was a guard there.
Right.
Oh, they were serious. They were serious about it. I mean, totally.
Yeah, you guys were facing manslaughter in a sense.
Right.
You guys were...
That's right. And in Arizona, you don't need a body to be charged with murder. So we had a real big.
Well, they had the intent there with Dallas. They had an intent because of the incident with Dallas, and everybody knew Dallas's reputation. So
and it was all going to depend on whether or not we pass these lie detector tests.
Right. And now when Travis reappeared, and you guys were, did he look different? Did he sound different? Was he different? Was he the same Travis?
Yeah, very different. Very different.
And when he came back, did he have any visible marks? Because I know in the movie they show that
No,
he
no,
had
no, he didn't.
marks all over him,
They do a lot of things in the movie too. Various things. I don't take the time to explain it. In the movie,
yeah, there's a lot of
they
effects.
show a bloody looking thing like on the inside of his arm.
Right. That's what I'm
No,
saying. They
no.
had a lot of effects.
Yeah,
But him, he looked normal when he came back.
There was a little pinprick, but it wasn't in his elbow. It was like on the side, or actually behind. Okay, and he was completely open about that. He showed that.
Right, but they
played
it up as if he was like prodded and poked
like
and
I
cut
say,
open.
they downplayed. They downplayed. I think Hollywood didn't. I think Hollywood is governed by the government, and they take a story like this.
And you know why? Right? There's a lot of things that go on that shouldn't be, like trafficking and different things. So of course they're probably monitoring them.
Well, with this particular situation, like I said, I think it was the whole point of they did not want to cause a national scare. Because what happens is when you become scared nationally, that now all of a sudden we have these invaders from wherever they want to call them from, outer space, who knows? And then all the information that was put out there's not a lot of research put out there because nobody can get close enough to these things. And then they're saying that the government has access to them. And there's so much things in between that it would have actually created a national scare.
If you
That's
guys
why
had
they
about
really tried
if you guys had about a 5-hour conspiracy show here, I could really get into that aspect because I have studied the Phoenix Lights and our incident in the 45 years since. And of course, the Phoenix Lights is only 22 years, almost 23 years old.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And prior to your actual encounter, there has been notable encounters that nobody really wanted to research or really wanted out there.
Oh, so they pretty much quit.
Right.
Our polygraph test was one of the last. I mean, I don't even know of another one. And even then, they were the ones I did hear about were not skeptic sponsored. They weren't the same thing. People, they just quit investigating. They just started believing, partly because of our story. So they didn't figure lie detector tests were necessary or whatever, or they were hoaxes and they didn't want to get into proof like that. I don't know. I just don't know that stuff, but I speculate to the hilt.
Right, and that's what makes your encounter one of the most important. And people don't understand that your guys' encounter was the most documented encounter that has taken place in a long time.
Yeah.
And because of that,
ever had. I mean,
exactly. And because of that, you guys put the question, are there people or beings or extraterrestrials out there in the universe somewhere, and if so, why are they coming to Earth? You opened a whole it's kind of like you guys opened Pandora's box in ufology.
Didn't know it at the time.
Right.
At the time I was just like, gosh, damn.
Yeah, exactly. And so now after Travis is back, he's different. He's totally, which is understandable. He's been through who knows what. He's going through who knows what emotionally. He has all these camera people, all these reporters, all these cops, everybody just bombarding him. Of course he's going to be a little bit, withdrawn from everybody because he's like, leave me alone. You know what I mean? Like, please let me be. And now did your guys' relationship improve or decline after that event?
Well, it declined partly because peer pressure. People were saying he ran off and left you. Well, Travis knew what the deal was, but peer pressure, even from my family, which was kind of his family, because he married my sister like a year later,
Oh, see, in the movie, it shows that you were with his sister, and it was Okay, so
And
he was
no. The movie didn't show that. The movie
yeah,
has him being too close to Dana than reality. That stuff happened pretty much after,
Oh, okay, after the fact. Okay,
Yeah. Another one of those things the movie slid forward, changed for their
right,
own purposes,
right, and that's why, like I said,
They should Hollywood shouldn't even call it, based on a true story. They should call it loosely based on a whimsical story or something.
That's true.
right, exactly. It's not a clear. It's not well done whatsoever, because, like I said, it's not well done because here I am, just a normal co-host on a show, asking you questions that you never really got to express or
That's
answer
right.
because
That's right.
they never cared, and that's what makes it really important for me to hear your side and what you went through, because what people don't understand, it's like, okay, well, Travis went through this. Okay, but what did every other occupant in that vehicle go through? What else did everybody had a part in this situation?
And
everybody
was different, but as different as they were,
right,
they're all different.
Right. Exactly. And so now that all that declined, I mean, you guys still talk, yes, but it's not the same as it used to be, which is understandable because it was a life-changing experience.
Well, we've actually been very close to all of them. There's been a couple that I haven't, like Steve Pierce. He's kind of had a chip on his shoulder ever since, because he even his best friend John, still his best friend, John realizes. In fact, John was in a TV thing here not too long ago. As a documentary put on by Jennifer Stein. She paid for it. She's a very rich lady, and she produced this documentary, and it's very, very close to the facts. But John actually said right there at the beginning of that documentary, he says John was probably the most shook up, and that's true. So John has had a chip on his shoulder because I said it differently. I said he cried, okay? And
right.
John hasn't really liked me too well ever since, okay? But
that's
just because of that,
right, and that with this particular situation, coming from a psychological background, everybody is going to express these traumatic events differently. They want to be, but they never want to be the weak one. Because a lot of times people feel like when a traumatic experience happens, that weakness makes them look worse, or weakness is not, and crying is not a weakness. And a lot of people misinterpret the fact that crying is a weakness. So I can understand why he would feel like, hey, I didn't cry. I'm a man. Men don't cry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In fact, he's more of a man if
exactly
you do
right.
cry.
So I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Actually, part of the reason for everything, coming and going, is the fact that Steve says, you cried like a baby.
Yeah.
That's real. But I wasn't crying. I was happy.
Right. Exactly.
Tears of joy.
Right.
But
and
I did break down. It was very emotional. I went to my knees. And I cried like a baby, but they were tears of joy.
Right, because you were like, well, if he's not laying here dead, then he's alive somewhere. Thank God, thank whoever, thank you for, if you took him or didn't take him, he has to be somewhere.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I can understand that there was more of like that relief. You were feeling like, oh God, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so happy. My friend's alive. Now, so you guys only got out of the car after you returned, and that's when you guys noticed that. And then when you got back to make that phone call to the sheriff, because there was no cell phones back then, so you couldn't go and reach in your pocket.
No, it was a phone booth, which doesn't.
Yeah,
well, there is one phone booth still existing in Heber, the one Travis called from when he called us. Yeah, they've preserved that as like a monument,
right, as like like the telephone in the middle of like the Roswell Desert or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I know what you're talking about, but Now, did you guys ever return to that site afterwards to say like, hey, what the hell happened here?
Oh
Like, did you
yeah,
ever go
yeah.
back to, and how
Well,
long before it took?
three of us were up. In fact, the one who was had the rift with Travis went back with us for those 4 days of searching. In fact, he went back with us that night. That's something else they don't show in the movie. We went
Right.
back that very night with the sheriff and the deputy sheriff. The deputy was just very skeptical. He just kept pushing on us, pushing on us. The sheriff was very fair because, like I say, he believed us. Okay, he just peer pressure. He had to say, murder or whatever.
Right.
Complicated stuff.
Right. No, that makes sense because we can't blame anything on extraterrestrials because they're considered superstitious. They're considered ideology. They're not considered beings.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you
So-
something. They are extremely real. Extremely real. That just comes from me personally, but you can hear that from many of us,
No, me personally, like I said, I am very open-minded. I believe in a lot of things. And a lot
You
of my
probably
beliefs,
believe in too many things, Actually,
I do.
that's something I've been fighting for quite a long time now. Is the believing too many. In fact, I call them eager believers. I think you're an eager believer. Intelligent
No.
people, but because of so much stuff, they
right, it can cloud your judgment and your understanding.
yeah,
And that's why
exactly right.
right, that's why I personally, like I said, I'm very open-minded, but I am a very critical thinker. I think like if
Right.
I don't doubt there's other things out there in the world that we have not come across, new species in the oceans, etc.
Yeah,
And the
well,
reason
a lot of the
does-
stuff is real.
Right, and
The problem is there's too much out there. In fact, probably like something like 90% is either mistaken identity. I get kind of a skeptic myself here. At least I'm a believing realist, but skeptical in the sense that I see reality because I'm a very critical thinker. In fact, I've become much more so, since that incident. In fact, Travis and I both have high IQs now that we didn't have before.
well, that's one of the things that people will say is that a lot of people who have been abducted or had experiences, they come back with a different mindset, but not in the sense of like the way they're thinking, but of their cognitive abilities, where their cognitive abilities become more aware and more heightened. It's kind of like it turns on a switch in your brain. And
that's right.
a lot of people, and I've researched many different incidences. Like there is one that I was researching recently, and I'm not sure if I'm saying the name right. It's called the Hamawabi, and it's pretty much where these individuals, and it's off of Australia. These individuals believe in mermaids and individuals that do live in the oceans and hide in the oceans. And one of their women were abducted and didn't come back for 4 years. And then when she did, she was able to read, which she would not been able to. She was able to, speak clearly.
Yes.
Using intellectual words. She was able to do things that nobody in her village was able to do. And it all came from a hibernization breeding program, and that's why they took her. She wouldn't even have known what that was either. So,
well, that is very, very logical, but
so it's very
problems with that. That's one of those things that is probably based on reality that has been exaggerated.
Right. And that's what makes us all very important in things like this. And this is why we do Goddesses and Devils, because we are very, like I said in the beginning, we're not biased, we're not judgmental, we are very open and very understanding, but we do it in a non-negative platform. And the reason why we do this is because there's so many people out there that are either assuming too much or not understanding too much, or some who are just conflicted and don't really know which way to go with anything because there's so much miscommunication out there. And then you have the negative backlash from skeptics, you have negative backlash from peers that create this isolated person, and they can't be or think how they want to because they have to conform to society and societal norms. And when we do segments like this, it's really important because, like I said, nobody has ever asked you for your real, true sides, of this event. You know what I mean? Like, people have asked you, but then they contorted a lot of the things you said. They would say, well, it was because of this. I'm like, well, I did say that, but you're taking my words and you're twisting it. It's a misrepresentation of your experience, which I find to be really disrespectful. And that's why I wanted you on Goddesses and Devils, so you can express what you went through and how it affected you. And that really movies a lot of times misinterpret the facts and the truths behind these events. And that's what I like what you said. It's based on loosely thought realistic events, because it's the wow factor. How can you make me hang on to my seat, make me interested and buy your movies? Well, you have to twist it. Nobody's going to want to listen to it unless it's via documentary.
I thought of a better way to say that.
Exactly.
Based on a true piece of our imagination.
Right, exactly. And it's amazing that you are able to not be full of hate or anger because you've been through this, and then people are not listening the way they should, or not taking your side of things respectively and looking at it from a perspective aspect. You know what I mean? And they're looking at it like, well, it's sci-fi. It says no, and that's the point. Like I said, I believe there's things out there, yes, but like I said, I have not had the experience of others, and it's not me searching for like the holy grail or anything like that. No, it's a point of educating myself. It's a point of educating our listeners and viewers that, these are events that happen to somebody, and we need to respect that person for what they went through. Whether or not it sounds like it's crazy because you don't believe in UFOs, whether or not it sounds like, oh my God, this is the mother lode, I hit gold here because I believe in them. It doesn't matter which way you look at it. It's a point of the fact that.
Did you say this show was 20 hours? Because
no, we're actually getting ready. I mean, honestly, if we had more time, I would love to, and we can actually do another segment with you coming on too, and we could do different parts of it as well.
Yeah. If you want to know the real me, okay, I have done these illusions things, these featured illusions, which started in 1976 because the skeptics was pushing me so hard, and I went into illusions big time, and of course. Right after in 1976, I noticed I was smarter, and so I quit being biased. Okay,
right.
People in the paranormal are just loaded with bias. But anyway, that's the problem, because today, in fact, ever since 76, in fact, in the last 3 years, I've started putting together these things for a book, which. I have thought several times was going to be completed soon, but it isn't yet. But I have a number of these things, and I don't know. I think Katie is displaying some of these things on this the ad for the show or whatever it is. It's that thing that displays the show. You can hear the audio, and then there's these frames. And so I sent her like a dozen of these featured illusions to put in there. And those things, for a whole bunch of reasons, have become big in my life. That's basically me. That's what I became on account of all this. And
right, because it changed your life completely in a different direction, in a sense. It is. It's life-changing.
These illusions actually go into what's really happening with people. What's really happening.
And that's the thing, again, with my show, we try to bridge that gap that everybody seems to fall in between. We try to make it where it's as openly and as honest as we can and fact-based, yes, but it's also the gap in between that we fail to realize sometimes, and there's so many things that science has proven, yes, but then there's so many things that have happened that science don't have any answers for. There just is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
they're just
on the basis
and we
of
try to bridge that.
Yeah. on the basis of my increased intelligence, which I can only pin on the incident, even though I wasn't abducted. Okay, I have been accused of being an alien a number of times because I developed the ability to think extremely critically. The last test I took, I scored 180 IQ, and
nice.
because I can answer the questions quickly, easily. But the point is, I've developed the physical ability to paint on canvas and on the computer, because as of right now, what I do looks like a photograph. And at the same time, I can write flawlessly.
Right.
And I've come up with things concerning these illusions that are something totally different. I mean, basically, I've discovered that there are 7 human physical sense perceptions, not just the original 5. Pain and balance were not included in the original 5. And 5 of those actual 7 that exist are 3-dimensional, okay, which pushes the so-called 6th sense up to like 8,
Right. And that's the thing, certain individuals do have the capability of having that 6th sense, which is going into different types of
but
ability.
I don't know about the 6th sense. Well, I believe there's a 6th sense, but not what they say it is. Because
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The 6th sense, the way they say it is, okay, it just doesn't make sense to me. In fact, there's a whole lot of different ideas about the 6th sense. That's one thing. It's sort of like different interpretations
no,
of the Bible.
Right, and exactly, that's true. There's so many different interpretations of everything out there, and a lot of the times people do this to conform to certain statistics, conform to certain societal needs, conform
to their own
desires. Exactly, they conform to them. There's so many reasons to why things change. You know what I mean? Culture, for instance, is a constant, consistent, changing thing. Culture changes. It's not just I'm from here, I'm from there. No, it's changing, and that's what people don't understand.
That's why the scientific community said there was only 5 senses to start with, and they've changed their tune since then. I've written a lot of letters to the dictionaries and stuff like that. The Oxford people, that do the Oxford dictionary, they still have they still present the senses as 5, but they explain it that there's more, and our dictionary, the English dictionary, it doesn't even talk about. They don't even mention 5 senses anymore. But at the same time, they don't say that. They don't say there's actually 7. And I think the reason why they missed it, back at the time, is because some of these things are just too complicated. Like
right. Well, I have
pain and balance
weren't
included. Go ahead.
Right. I have 2 questions from 2 of my viewers right now, and then we have to wrap it up by 8:45, which is another 5 minutes. So I definitely would like to show them.
My clock says
we have 5. Yeah, we wrap up at 8:45. So one question comes from one of our viewers. Her name is Linda. She wants to know, has there been any other sightings since this whole thing happened? Have you had other sightings?
Yes.
And now
I haven't had a whole bunch of sightings.
Right. So this just wasn't like.
When you say sighting, I've had these far sightings, which turned out to be something other than a UFO. Okay. And I've had 4 main experiences that were real experiences, but one of them, the Phoenix Lights, was a hoax, and I've proven that because I studied that ever since that happened.
I'll see you later.
Right. And then another question is that how do you how, in your own words, how would you explain extra abilities or gifts? Like, how is your feelings that? Like, how do you quantify
I have
extra
no idea
abilities
in
and
this
stuff?
world why. I just know the connection, the timing.
Okay.
Otherwise, I don't know.
So,
I just know what I can do. Okay. And I can
right. So
do,
are you open-minded to these like particular
yeah, but the
that
thing
there
of it,
could be
but the thing
extra
of it
abilities?
is, I'm not biased. You see, if you
Mhm.
become completely open-minded, then you become biased, unbiased. Most of the people in the paranormal are biased. Not only that, they believe in it. Yeah, you know, I belong to something like 18 different groups now, and
Mhm.
originally like 9 or something. That was like shoot a month ago, right? But I've joined all of them basically that are offered to me. I don't know how many are out there. Paranormal groups, scientific groups, uh, you know, astronomy groups. That's one of my favorites because I'm very well educated in astronomy.
Right.
You know, but anyway, go ahead.
So you're open to the idea of these things in a
No,
sense,
I'm
but
open to
then
the
you're kind
idea.
of,
I'm open to the idea. See, the
yeah,
terminology used is what's important here. I'm open to the idea
exactly.
because I'm unbiased. But
Right.
these things that
Yeah.
people present are biased. A lot of it.
Right. No, I
A good
understand
part
what
of
you're
it.
saying.
Yeah.
Some of them are really one-sided. It's
Some
black
of them
or
are
white.
made up. Some of it's just
And
made
yeah,
up.
right. And then you have the ones that are just like for attention. And I get it. And that's what and I get it and I understand it because that's what makes you know, that's what makes people thrive sometimes is how they justify things. The unexplainable or the explainable. And a lot of times we feel like there has to be an explanation for everything. And if there isn't, well, then I don't believe it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
then when you become
Yeah,
open-minded,
but
you kind of
I
start
try to do
seeing
that.
it.
That's why I joined all these
Yeah.
groups. Yeah. Is to try
Yeah.
to
When
give
you
them
become
what's the real
open-minded,
dope, but they won't believe it. I got
right. When
kicked
you
off out of 2 of the groups, but because I'm persistent, because I'm unbiased, those 2 groups that kicked me out now remembered me.
so you're
Remembered me.
you are you're more along the line of a fact checker, a realist. You want to have the real information presented so you can
Yeah.
understand it better. Yeah, I'm similar to you, trust me. But we actually are at the end of our show, and I want to thank you, Mike, for coming on. Like I said, I would love to do another segment with this. Thank you for asking the questions. I'm sorry if I kind of, gave it to you in all different weird directions, but
Well, you're the
I have
host.
my own
Yeah.
way of, well, I do have my own way of interviewing people, and I do it from a different angle. Like I said, I do it from basically because, like I said, I do have a background in psychology. I look at it in different perspectives, and I ask the questions a little differently. And it's not that I'm trying to make anybody give me a wrong answer or not comply with this. No, it's the point of getting to know the person, their true experience, how they felt, what they went through, and getting to understand what happened through their mind's eye perspective.
Yeah.
Like this is
Well, I
coming
have
from
my own
your,
show. I have my own show, The Realist, of course, on KGRA, and
well, yeah. If you can tell the viewers, because we're getting, like I said, we're getting ready to head out, where they can find you, where they can,
yeah.
the
Well,
research that
one
you're
of those
putting out there,
shows,
your book.
one of those shows is tonight. In fact, my regular schedule. In fact, right now, it's at 10 o'clock, uh, Arizona time, which doesn't ever change. But Eastern, it's actually 1 o'clock in the morning, Sunday morning, okay? 1 o'clock a.m. Sunday morning. It's called The Realist on KGRA. You just go to kgra.com, kgraradio.com. And then just like your thing, you just push, here, and it's free.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear it. And coming up here, just in what, I don't know, 5 hours or something. Less than 5 hours. 4 hours and 15 minutes. So I've been great being on with you.
No, thank you. And do you have like let's say somebody wants to reach out to you for any questions, or now can they do that through your show, or are you on any other platforms?
lots of other platforms. But if a person wants to actually see some of the stuff that I've done, especially these featured illusions, you just go to Mike Heston Rogers. That's Rogers without a D, R-O-G-R. And Heston, like Charlton Heston, because that's who I was named. Middle name was named for Charlton, Mike Heston Rogers, Facebook. And there you can find everything that not everything, but a good part of what I present.
Okay, no, and that's good to know, because like I said, a lot of times when we have guests on the show, we like to give them some time to explain where our viewers can find them, and if like they did any notable work, where they can purchase your work or they can view your work. That way we can we can build a relationship, and they can see that, okay, well, this is my research, this is what I've done. If you're interested, this is where you can find it, because it's really important for us as people to stop with all the hate and, excuse my French, the bullshit, all the controversies, all this stuff, and just learn how to communicate and work together. That way we might actually learn something from one another,
and people do
better off, and we might be better off as a community, as a civilization. And that's one of my main goals, like I said, here on the show, is to promote that, because it's really sad how there's been so much negativity and not positivity around anything like that because of different viewpoints. Just because I have a different view from yours, you have a different, doesn't mean we can't say, okay, well, you know what, I agree to disagree, but thank you for sharing your information with me, and thank you for taking the time to explain it to me. I appreciate it. But now, moving on, how was your day today? What did you do? Well, you know what I mean? That's exactly what it's about.
Yeah. Well, it is about saving the world, really, what I do.
Right, and that's what it is. We all have this.
Yeah. Well, one of the featured illusions that
humanity.
I have is pretty simple. It has a picture of Earth, and it's all cracking up and everything, and it's not really, it's an illustration. It's not really photographic, but at the bottom I say, so it's not the bombs or bugs nor the bombastic bastards on billboards, but the biased bullshit is likely to bring an end to this little blue planet called Earth, and probably the everlasting end of our human reign over this uniquely rare and precious world.
Right. No, and I agree. So, with that being said, guys, you are watching Goddesses and viewing and listening, whatever way you choose to view our show, Goddesses and Devils on the Global Enlightenment Radio Network. I will bid you all good night. There are plenty of other shows here on the network that you guys can follow, watch. You could definitely head on over to Mike's show tonight. He'll be airing at 1 a.m. Eastern time. And if you guys want, you can go check him out. But thank you, and I bid you all a good night, and I will see you all again next.
And just
Saturday.
Before we do go, because I never disappeared, I will mention out too tonight. Amanda will be hosting the show for a little bit while in my wake, because I am going to share with you the 5D conference, which is coming up, the Biomed Expo and the Quantum Consciousness Expo in Las Vegas, Nevada, on the 23rd to the 25th of October at the Alexis Park All Suite Resort. Now, I will be there, so if you're in the area and you would like to come to the conference itself, you can go and check it out. For tickets and all the other information that is available there, go to Biomed Expo or 5devents.com. So, I'll be in the area from the 23rd to the 25th. So check it out. Go have a look and see what it's all about. I'll be there accompanying a keynote speaker. You may get to hear me speak while I'm there. But if you are listening to the show this evening, don't forget to go over to my YouTube channel at Soma Fusion, Mind, Body, and Soul, and click the like, share, and subscribe button. Let the whole world know what we're learning each week. And not only that, if you're on Facebook, go share out the video over there. And for upcoming details on the show, go to soma-fusion.com or Soma Fusion Media and watch all the social media updates that we have that are upcoming. There's always something going on.
Right, exactly. And just so you guys know, I do my best to monitor the Facebook chat as well as any other social media platforms that we're streaming from and try to pick up your guys' questions. But always feel free on Goddesses and Devils to call in. We do have a number that's located right underneath our pictures. And if you call into that number, you could definitely ask the guest your question directly. So if I missed any questions or anything, I am sorry. I love you guys. We do our best, but calling is so much easier. I love you guys. Good night.
You guys too.
Good night.